Hey, it's Luke from LT Gaming, and today we're diving into some of the best space sims in the Steam Spring Sale. Yes, I can't believe it's sale time already. Where did the year go? If you're a regular LT gamer, treat this Steam sales list as a bingo card. I want to know how many of these games you own or we've convinced you to get so far in the comments below. And if you're new here, just enjoy the sales list and pick up some great bargains. So if you enjoy space games where you start out as a respectable trader and somehow end the night wanted in 3 systems, do me a favour and drop a like on the video, consider it your legal defence fund. Now that's enough silliness, let's get right into it. House of the Dying Sun, 70% off, €5.99. This one's a much more focused, combat-heavy space sim, putting you in the cockpit of the Empire's deadliest interceptor, while also letting you command a wider fleet from a tactical overview. It's one of the most underappreciated space sim gems out there, and yeah, it sits a little bit on the shorter side, but I wish they'd turn this into a full empire-building sandbox experience. It would have been brilliant. If anyone can track this developer down and we can give him some money, perhaps he could do that. What makes it stand out is that blend of classic space shooter intensity and light strategy, with fast dogfights thrown in and fleet orders. This game simply just deserves your attention in 2026, and if you want to experience spaceflight in VR, this is still one of the funnest virtual reality games I've ever played. Avorion, 60% off, €9.99. If you want a procedural co-op space sandbox where you build your own ships from scalable blocks, Avorion is the one. It stands out because it has that truly great blend of custom shipbuilding, destructible space battles, fleet growth factories, multiplayer, and just about everything. It provides the ultimate creative freedom and empire building depth in a space sim. I think it tends to be a little bit forgotten in 26, to be honest. I don't see a lot of content out there on it anymore, and it truly is a real great of the genre if you can get into it and get past some of the initial tutorials. There's definitely a bit of a learning curve, but it is an absolutely massive game once you get going. I think they did some expansion packs also, so check those out. If you like the idea of building your own ships while slowly growing from a nobody on the edge of the galaxy to something much bigger, hang on, it's like the LT Gaming story. I have to slip that joke in somewhere. Well, if you actually do enjoy all of that, Avorion still has a really strong appeal. Space Engine, 40% off, €17.39. It's less of a traditional game and more of a science-based universe simulator, letting you explore a one-to-one scale cosmos filled with galaxies, nebula, stars, planets, black holes, and procedural worlds. But it's so worth it. What a satisfying game or educational tool this is. I don't really care how you classify it, it's just brilliant. It stands out for that sheer sense of scale and realism, with seamless travel, time control, Newtonian flight, and a fully functional planetarium mode built around real astronomical data. I've had so much unbelievable fun in this title. I mean, you can fly a starship around as well, so it is kind of a space sim, let's call it that. But if you want to learn and educate yourself about space, this is the ultimate experience and you need to pick it up in the sale. Space Engineers 2, 20% off, €23.19. This game leans hard into the engineering sandbox fantasy, giving you a fully destructible world where you can build ships, stations, and planetary bases, while the current alpha already includes creative tools, survival systems, colonization mechanics, and 2 planets to explore. What makes it stand out is the building side of the experience here, with its unified grid system, projection and backpack building, mod support, and that classic design it, test it, break it, and rebuild it better loop. Space engineering fans just absolutely love this game. Now, it's definitely a tougher one for me to get my head around, but I do love it, and I love the updates that they're doing all the time. The early access of this game started very bare bones. I was concerned, but I'm really happy with the progress it's making, and you should definitely pick it up if you want a project to enjoy along the way. Battle Group VR 2, 20% off, €19.60. If you're looking for a VR-only, real-time space strategy game that puts you on the bridge of your flagship, then you've got to pick this title up. You'll be leading fleets, exploring, mining, doing a bit of fighting across the galaxy, and all of it in virtual reality, so you should be very immersed. It stands out because that mix of fleet command and of course that first-person VR immersion I've just talked about, giving you the feel of directing battles from the captain's chair rather than some distant strategy map. It is clearly a more niche recommendation than the broader flat screen space sims on this list, but if you want something that genuinely leans into the fantasy of commanding a war fleet in VR, this is a strong one to keep an eye on. Starpoint Gemini Warlords, 85% off, €4.79. This one sits in a really nice middle ground between space sim, action RPG and lighter 4X sandbox, letting you directly command capital ships while also building war fleets, expanding your territory and upgrading your headquarters while you push against rival factions across the Gemini system. What makes it stand out is that balance between personal ship combat and bigger picture control, so it gives you that hands-on space combat feel while layering in fleet warfare, the Empire growth and a much more Warlord style progression loop, and this was just a really fun game when I played it back in the day. I wanted to include it this time around because it does get left off a few of our sales lists from time to time, and it's a game I'm actually genuinely curious to jump back into in 2026 myself, so I might do that, and I think you should also. Underspace, 45% off, €9.23. This game feels like a love letter to Freelancer but with a much stranger identity of its own, mixing open world space sim action with RPG structure, handcrafted star systems, ship customization, and a very obvious Lovecraftian twist which some people love and some people aren't so keen on. But I kinda like it that they did something different here with a new atmosphere. What makes it stand out, to be honest, is that weirdness, because this is not just sci-fi sandbox comfort food, it's a universe full of storms, eldritch threats, bizarre locations, and a much more offbeat sense of adventure than most games in the genre. I think because this tries to be different and it has some really cool gameplay elements as well, plus the Freelancer vibe, is definitely worth a look and a pickup. Void Destroyer 2, 50% off, €4.09. This is a scrappier, more systems-driven space sandbox that lets you start off in a basic ship and gradually opens up into everything else. What makes it stand out is that mix of cockpit action and strategy, because this is not just about flying one ship well, it's about clawing your way up from small-time jobs to controlling fleets, bases and territory in a rough asteroid belt frontier. A lot of bigger space games look flashier, but Void Destroyer 2 has that classic indie sandbox appeal, where you can feel the progression from nothing to something much bigger. For what it's worth, it has a very positive Steam rating, which to be honest these days I don't put too much heed in, so I don't talk about them that much, but this game really does deserve it. And if you like your space sims a little bit nicher with a bit more grit, freedom and that old school build yourself up energy, this is still a very easy one to throw onto a sales list. Just a quick interlude to say most of you who watch the channel are not subscribed, so make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button because it helps smaller channels like us grow really quickly, and both me and Tom really appreciate it. Reentry, a spaceflight simulator, 30% off, €23.79. This is a much more serious systems-heavy pick than the usual sandbox space game. There was someone who once wrote a comment arguing with me that this wasn't a space simulation game. I mean, literally, how dumb would you have to be? This is built around realistically operating Mercury, Gemini and Apollo-era spacecraft. I mean, how much more real does it get? Through structured missions inspired by early NASA programs. What makes it stand out is the authenticity, with detailed spacecraft systems, orbital mechanics, manuals, checklists, and even an in-game spaceflight academy. It's all feeding into that feeling that you're not just flying in space, but actually learning how these missions worked for real. And on that front, it's so worth it in 2026 because it's one of the most realistic and hardcore space simulation games out there where you actually might learn something. Liberation, 50% off, €7.89. If you want a retro-styled open universe space RPG where you pilot an elite stealth ship, then Liberation has to be top of the pile. In this fun and wacky space sim, you're going to be taking down the Galactic Federation, and this guy is a really good developer. His name's also Luke, so I can appreciate that. And he's done another title called NGA Trek that you should definitely check out. It's like an old Star Trek style game, and he's just a great indie developer that deserves your support. But Liberation stands out because it strips the genre back a bit, putting less focus on trading and more on tighter combat, story, lore, and that classic British sci-fi flavour. You know us Brits were always a bit crazy and wild, and I mean I haven't lived there for many years, but you know, we've always got it in us. It's an absolutely niche pick, but we really do enjoy putting this on lists, and you should definitely go out and pick it up to support the developer on these sorts of games. Starcom Unknown Space, 30% off, €17.15. This is a top-down space action RPG built around exploration, shipbuilding, and a mystery-filled open universe with alien factions, artifacts, and strange worlds to uncover. Look, if you like your space sims 2D and you can't get Star Sector on Steam, this is the one. It stands out for how nicely it blends adventure and customization, letting you turn a small scout ship into something far more powerful through research, new modules, and different ship builds. It's still a really easy sell list recommendation in 26 because it already feels like a polished, content-rich space adventure adventure rather than just an interesting idea. Like I said, 2D space sim, go and pick this one up if that tickles your fancy. I just googled tickles your fancy to make sure it was an actual saying because my wife knows very well that I like to make sayings up and get them all completely wrong or say something rude by accident, so I think I'm in the clear here. Evochron Legacy SE, 20% off, €19.60. This is a more old school systems heavy space sim built around a seamless universe. What makes it stand out is how technical and pilot focused it feels, with Newtonian style flight, cockpit driven control, planetary descents and very freeform sandbox structure overall. If you know LT Gaming, you'll know that I have included this on a number of sales lists before. I do think it's a forgotten gem of the space sim world. I'd also encourage you to check out Arvok Alliance, which is based on the same engine but it's more story focused, and you can get that on his website, but I'll try and find a link to it and stick it in the description below. But in 2026 I do think Evochron still has a strong niche because it leans fully into that classic hardcore space sim. It's not trying to be a flashy mainstream sandbox, it's just doing what it does and it does it well. Plus, I always will have a soft spot for the indies. Overall, great sale pickup for players who want depth, freedom and a more traditional space sim feel. X4 Foundation, 75% off, €12.49. This is one of the best picks here if you want your space sim to grow into a full empire builder, starting you off in a single ship before opening out into trading, station construction and fleet command, all sitting within a living simulated universe. What makes X4 stand out apart from just about everything, and we won't mention the UI because the people do complain about that, but it's a sense of scale and control. With so many flyable ships, modular station building, shifting faction economies, it's like a living universe that you're just a part of. It's simply brilliant. And in 2026, that mix still feels pretty special. A lot of space games let you fly through a big sandbox, but X4 also lets you shape it. When you're building factories, managing logistics and steering the wider balance of power around you, you do appreciate what a brilliant game this is. It's a super easy sale list recommendation for me, and make sure to check out the latest Empire update. We did a comprehensive video on that, so definitely give it a watch. It's one of my favourite and most played games of all time, so I'm just gonna go thumbs up here. Oh, and I almost forgot, you can play the Star Wars Interworlds mod, which is just a cherry on top if you love X4. You'll need the main game plus all the main DLC, and then you can play one of the best Star Wars games ever made. No Man's Sky, 60% off, €23.59. This has grown into one of the biggest all-round space sandbox games ever. It blends base building, exploration, survival, trading, multiplayer and seamless planet-to-space travel inside its huge procedurally generated universe. And what makes it stand out is how much variety it packs into that loop. Whether you want to chart strange worlds, build out a home base, run missions with friends, or just drift through space chasing that next weird discovery, it really is a dream space game. I have over 100 hours in this just recently between my Nintendo Switch and PC using cross-save. It's a really great function. It means I can play No Man's Sky on the move, and then I can load it up onto my computer, record some footage. It's absolutely brilliant and definitely a game I want to dive deeper into on LT Gaming. It earns a solid place on a 2026 sales list because it feels like one of the most feature-rich and complete space games you can buy. And we've got to talk about those years and years of updates. It's truly impressive what Hello Games have done. If you want a space game with scale, freedom, constant variety, with a huge amount of stuff to do, this is still an easy one to recommend. Elite Dangerous, 70% off, €5.99. This is still one of the purest cockpit-first space sims around, dropping you into a one-to-one scale Milky Way where trading, bounty hunting, mining, exploration, smuggling and faction play all sit inside the same connected sandbox. What makes it stand out is the sheer sense of scale and immersion. It really is just absolutely epic, and many players in our Discord think it's the best space sim of all. I tend to lean a little bit more on X4 Foundations, but I do understand if you're a real simmer, this is the one. 2026 is still a good year to get into Elite Dangerous. There's lots of new ships on the way, updates coming all the time, and they haven't given up support on this one. If you don't own Elite, just buy it and give it a try.